Welcome. Good afternoon, user group from Gravity. We're very happy to have you today in our live call, streamed directly, we presume, to your home and your comfortable home office. We have the big release, release 113, and we have Christoph with us. And Christoph is going to give us a quick overview of the release, talk about the main features. If you have any questions, there's a chat on YouTube where you can ask any questions, and we'll bring them into discussion as we move along. We've got about 30 minutes for this, so it'll be a quick half an hour, which we're going to be spending together. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing Christoph's introduction of the new release. Christoph, I guess the floor is yours. Let me hand over the mic to you.
Okay, also warm welcome from my side as well. So we have 1.13 of Gravity here with us, and still, even the numbers seems like it's a small update. It has a lot of changes and a lot of improvements in it. Therefore, we decide to highlight a couple of them, even though on the official release notes, everything is kind of explained very in detail, but sometimes it's just easier to see it live here. So let us investigate a couple of the new features first before we go into the improvements as well. So let's dive directly into the demo of 1.13. So first of all, as you might see, this is here 1.13.05, which is the official release for MariaDB, the SQL Server, and it will be 1.13.0.105 for the Oracle version. If you're using that versioning, sometimes we have a little bit of an issue here with versioning, but we have the MariaDB and the SQL and the Oracle version have a slightly different number. Like the Oracle always has a 100 at the minor version of the top. So what's new? New is the following, that you have the Gravity control description here. So what it means, like if you have users that are added automatically and not using the dashboard, entering their email address, like there is on security level 1 or 2. So if you have security level 0 and have it set to automatically, so for those of you who are not that totally familiar with it, it's like if you have like the sync mode of enabled here. What you can do now on the settings here is you can have like a Gravity control description, which means is you can have like a user onboarding that is like a call out highlighting the Gravity control. So whatever language you like activated here, which I have like English and German here, you have a description for it. You can have like a picture to it. You can upload that picture here. And once a user is automatically added to the user group, like if you want to have it like on Salesforce, so if the first time the user gets the Gravity control, what he will have is then a call out highlighting Gravity. Okay, so the next thing that's also like hidden here, and we have a lot of discussion with you guys out there, is about workflow timeout. So from now on, you can define a timeout for a workflow. And given the use case is the following, and a lot of you guys had that in the past, it's like a user jumps to a workflow. He goes, as an example, goes to step number 3. And once he is on step number 3, Gravity stay there and save that information. So what it means is if he goes back where he basically started, but we knew that he was on step 3, so we will never show him Gravity, the first step of that workflow again, because we knew that he was on step number 3 and waited until the user will go to step number 3 again, and then or to that page where the step number 3 is, so we show it again and show them step number 3. what you can now define is, in general, is like a timeout. So here is set on 1 minute. So what it means is like if a user gets stuck or stays by purpose in one step for whatever reason, after 1 minute in the step here in that setting, we cancel the workflow and he will see step number 1 again, as it never actually clicked on it. Of course, if he went through all the steps, then we mark that workflow as done anyway, and he sees it normally. So, but that will solve a couple of issues depending on where we jump from which page to another. So, however, from now on, after that release, you can define it. The default setting, if you upgrade, will be 5 minutes. Okay. Also new, and a lot of discussions as well, is like we have restricted access to the dashboard now, and that's a big one. So it's configured per site configuration. So what you can do is basically we can now define. So that's actually good. So here it is. It's basically not here. It's basically on as a just not on general as I looked. It's based over on control setting. So here we have like the dashboard visibility. So what you can define now from now on is who sees the hamburger menu, or what we call the dashboard control. You remember we talk about that thing here, okay? So who sees that? So it can be active for all, it can be deactivated for all, or it can be only for content contributors. So, and this is probably for a lot of you guys the most important setting here. So what it means is like if you are an author defined as a content owner here, or a general goal owner for Gravity, so you will see the dashboard here, as well as all the buttons for statistic and goal definitions. So we'll see it. All other users will not see it and are not able to search for workflows or whatever it is. So you can hide it. Also, a big feedback from a lot of users. Last but not least is, as you might read already, we have a new native application. It's called Cornerstone here. So Cornerstone can now be used as a native application, meaning we can have the user synchronization out of that application. Okay. So let's talk about the product improvement in general. So we have a lot. These are kind of features that are recognizable. So we talk about a lot of things now. I jumped through to make most of that half an hour, explain a little bit. Let's not start and lost more time. Let's jump right into it. So the first thing we have here is we optimized the how a workflow looks now. Once you start the workflow, come to that later. Once you start the workflow, what you recognize is now something that looks kind of obvious, but when you are in the first step, you cannot go like backward. It's kind of grayed out. So from there on, obviously, if you are on the last point, it will not be. It will be on the other end. It will be great. So it's not clickable, or it's not even. It's kind of grayed out. So it's kind of more reasonable for the user itself. So and what you just saw here is a workflow. Maybe go to that one. Is like we have here the demo page, which is fairly long. Okay, and sure about that workflow. Yeah, here you see it. So that kind of application is fairly long. So at some workflows, it makes a lot of sense if you have like If you jump to one of them, it goes, it scrolls down a bit, like here. So it's kind of clear to the user, this is way down. Okay, so it's another one. Scroll down again, and then, okay, it makes, you got the point. If I'm up here, if I scroll down. The point is that this was not working on all applications or all web applications the same way as it is, as it looks like here. So, but that can now defined on site level again. So there's a new drop-down called the scrolling position calculation method. So it can either be per container or per body. So these are the two methods. So if you have a fairly long application and the scrolling is not working in the appropriate way, so most of the time what happens is if you need to go down, so it stays basically at the very top of the page. So if that happens, so you can go now into the general definition of that site and choose the opposite of the drop down, because there's only two methods basically available from the calculation where the proper position is. So if it's not working on your application, switch it here and you should be fine. Also something here that is what we call the active site URL watcher, which is fairly a little bit of a checkbox here, which makes a lot of brings a very cool feature to us and makes a lot of work and needed a lot of work from a development perspective. What it does is, like, we have applications that have nested iframes in it, and inside these iframes, the URL changes from time to time. So we're not talking about the URL that the user sees. We're talking about web applications that changes the URL inside the page or in certain areas of the page without notifying anyway the browser, because the browser don't need to know, it just reloads inside. So that's a little bit of a problem for Gravity because we look mainly on that. We look mainly on the browser URL, which leads to a situation that hotspots are displayed even they should not be displayed, because the website has changed underneath Gravity during the showing of help, of the Gravity help. So what you can now do, again, on site level, you can say the active site URL watcher, it is off by default, and if you turn it on, we constantly looking for URLs that are nested inside the page and if they change. So that takes a little bit more power not power, but the performance to look on it. Therefore, we deactivated it. But to be fair here, most of the applications don't do that, but there are special applications who made use of it. So from now on, it's been on-off checkbox here to manage that. Also new on that build is something to regard to the information, the email information. From now on, we do not only support here the TLS, we also support the TLS version 2, 1.2, which can be used. And also what can be used from now on is inside Docker containers, you can have your own certificate. So there's a path that is described in the wiki where it needs to go when you build your containers or your Kubernetes configuration, where you can add these certificates, and we support these certificates in accordance with the TLS version. Also something who is changed here, a little change, the sender has a special email address. It was before the username, because most of the cases the username and the sender is the same, but now it's been separated here. Okay, and not many people use it, but those people who use it, the import and the export function of a site, they're very keen to hear that the export and import now supports workflows. So from most of our clients using here the configuration that you have all the different environments have configured on the one application. But there are customers who have like different environments, like testing, staging, and production, and they are physically separated environments. So therefore, the gravity content needs to be moved from one stage by another via file. So we are supporting that for a long time, but doing that with workflow was a little bit tricky because there's a lot of rewriting involved when exporting and importing, and we tested that for a long time, but now it's in that build. So what you do is like how it looks is if you want to export here the Dart page. So what you see is, again, you can export the site config as it was, as the hotspots itself. If you decide here not only to export the configuration, you want to have content exported. Then you can decide if you have workflows, and therefore you can export here the workflows. And what you see is like that workflow HS0016/2 goes from the application Dart to SuccessFactors. And once you exported it into a file and do it an import, it looks more or less the same. So you choose that file, decide what to do, is like create or replace existing, replace or create missing and update existing. And then you have like the URL replacement, mainly because you don't want to, or you don't need to replace the URL for SAP SuccessFactors, I assume, but you need to replace them for the Dart page or whatever, because there's a staging and the production environment, but not for that web application like Dart, like SuccessFactors. Good. Okay. Something that has also changed is the following here, and you may saw it for a long time. So the position of the announcement has changed from middle of the page to like a couple of pixels here from the top. So the reason why we do that is because it's easier to make the position for the end user and like display it where it should be when people have different screen sizes and resolutions mainly. Also for us, it's kind of clearer to calculate where it actually should be. So what we do is like we place it here on a fixed size and left or right, depending on the settings you made. So, but anyway, what that means is like it will be shown on every screen exactly the same way. So once you update it, all the announcements will be on that different position. The effect and the way it works will be still the same. So no worry here, but just the position is different. Okay, so let's look on a couple of changes we made beside that. So the first thing is, and we talked about workflows already, workflows with who has user configuration confirmation. You remember, like the checkbox, got it on English, and I don't know in German actually. It's like habe verstanden. I don't know what the German version actually is. But if a user went through all of your workflow and you made it with the checkbox like done, like the got it, and he went through the complete workflow, but he never checked one of your got it, we still consider that as done. So that means if he saw it completely, he will not see it again, even though he has not checked it. When he checked a couple of it, we decided we don't consider it as done. Only if he went through it completely and then marked it as done. Here we are. Okay, I hope that makes a lot of sense. We had a couple of discussions with the customers, which one is the best solution to find out when is a workflow done. This is the solution we developed together with a couple of users. Okay, also feedback for a long time, and we needed to check with a couple of customers for feedback. Here is the reset for all user in the past has not reset the display counter. So what it has been done, you sure what I'm talking about? Maybe I show it here, just to be sure that we are all on the same page. So if you're using here goals and tasks, okay? So it's like that button here, reset for all user. So I'm talking about that button here, okay? So that button was in the past deleted only if the user has saw the information or not. So meaning consider the hotspot as red or not red. So but if it's an announcement basically, or an information call out, if you clicked it, so we did not reset that number. So if a user has saw it already twice, like an information is set to twice and the user saw it already twice, you made a change to it and you said reset for all user, it was not set back. So that user who saw it already twice, like information and announcement, have not newly displayed it. From now on, from 1.13, if you click that, we also delete that number. So if a user already has saw an information call out and you change something and then decide to reset for all user, so we deleted also for announcements and then information call out. Okay. Yeah. The last one is that empty auto login information, how we deal with that. And as you can imagine, this is something that happens from time to time. So we have certain users when we do the auto login who have no email address. So we decided, as an example for SharePoint, we decided to use from a specific user the email address as a unique identifier against Gravity to find it. So we need to get the email address out of the API and then store it into our backend. So you find that email address again. So in the past, we had a little bit of a problem here when some users can log into SharePoint, but do not have an email address. And it's not only for SharePoint, that's just an example, but there are others as well. Depending, even if you decide to have another field, a parameter field than email address, like a user ID or something like that, that some users, some technical users do not have an email address or a user ID for whatever reason. Maybe a user ID is a wrong example, but if you have a technical user, he might not have a valid email address. So from now on, what we do is like, when the user is the email address or the ID that was decided for auto login is empty during auto login, we do not send any server request from now on. The only thing we do is like we'll log that for a user we received an empty email address or user ID, and auto login is not possible. So what will happen? It will be the user will not see any warnings or any information at all. So for him, he is basically Gravity activated, but he has an empty email address, so he will not see Gravity at all and no error message whatsoever. The only thing that you will see is like in the server log, you will see an error that a user with an empty email address tried to log in. So this is totally different from the past. In the past, we had that we showed an information to the user, which say like check with your Gravity with your administrator for it, which is totally misleading and not totally clear to everyone. So we decided to switch it in the opposite way, because most of the time these technical users which have no valid email address are not normal users. Okay, more changes and bug fixes are basically included. I only went to the major ones because of the half an hour of time here, but please make sure to double check the official release notes that is based on the web, on our public wiki, because there's a lot of information here, and I wrote it and I tried to explain basically all of the feature and all of the changes here. As you always know, please come back to me if you have direct questions or needed support in any case.
Great, thanks, Christoph, and thank you very much for writing the release notes. Interesting stuff, which we're getting to learn here on this live broadcast. We have some viewers, but we don't have any questions on the YouTube live stream. I'd like to reiterate what Christoph said before. If you'd like a one-on-one session or you have detailed questions, please make sure you just reach out to us and we can schedule something and talk you through it, because many of these features deliver more value to your business customers on various levels, and will help you translate the technical impact and what it means to deliver more business value. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Christoph. We just got a chat. Thank you, Christoph, here from somebody else named Christoph. So thank you very much for watching. I think we'll wrap it up. Christoph, do you have any last words?
No, please update.
All right, great. So we'll be there to help you through any of the upgrade processes and help you communicate if you need so. Please reach out for us. Thank you very much for joining, and have a great afternoon and a great evening. Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.